Welcome back to episode 2 of the Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet. I'm your host, Tamia Jacobs, and the excitement is practically boiling over in studio today because we're talking about all things homecoming. Come along with me as we take a blast from the past and talk about how homecoming became the impactful event it is today with ASU historian Dr. Howard Robinson. And to no surprise, it's all about the Benjamins. So let's talk to Chamber of Commerce Representative Ron Simmons and the owner of Baristas and Barristers, lawyer Monica Whiting. Let's hop right into the main course as field reporter Jada Simmons takes us on a campus tour to learn what the buzz is on Homecoming 2023 and remembers what it means to be a part of this university.
At HBCUs, homecoming is always one for the books. It is a grand time for students and alumni to come together and enjoy all festivities. And here at the Alabama State University, homecoming means so much to alumni and students and to enjoy everything the university has in store.
Alumni is everything to me. I'm a very social person, I'm in organization, and just from the years I've been a freshman until now being a grad student, just watching Alabama State evolve. Like our games used to be at the Crampton Bowl downtown, and now we have our own stadium. Now we have new facilities, now we have a bigger union, the organizations, the school, the funding, the events. Everything is just getting bigger and better, and I just love it. I just have to be a part of it and participate every year.
In reality, homecoming is probably one of the most spirited times of the year. Like, you know how Christmas is for the family? Homecoming is like that for college and all our college friends and everybody. It's like your friends that left school and graduated, some of the friends that didn't graduate, I feel like everybody come back around that time. So it's a very valuable time of the year.
My experience for homecoming has always been pretty good. I mean, my freshman year, we didn't have a homecoming. So going into my sophomore year, you know, it was kind of like a comeback thing, and that made it fun. This year is fun. I think the concerts and games really bring out homecoming, brings everybody together to have fun.
To me, homecoming means to gather with alumni to just have fun, celebrate and bring back that old Bama State spirit that has been going on for years, networking and just having fun with the student body, getting to know the student body, getting more connected, going to events with the student body as well as events that SGA puts on. So it's just a great experience.
Homecoming is something that I've been dreaming of since a little girl. Both of my parents went to HBCUs, and when I was little, we used to go to their homecoming. And then when we moved farther away from their school, I used to watch all the homecoming stuff, the step shows, the bands and stuff on YouTube. So homecoming is honestly my favorite time of year. I just love it. Love to see the HBCU pride, seeing everybody come out. You know, the Greeks wearing their letters, all the orgs up in their stuff, and everybody just loving on each other.
On Tuesday, SGA and the university hosted the coronation in which they crowned the 84th Miss Alabama State University, Kayla Edwards, and others.
Kayla Edwards, she was so beautiful. We had like practices a few days out the week and stuff like that so we could practice our walk and how we're going to, be escorted.
The theme was a golden moment in time, and it was simply amazing. From the decorations to the class queens to the campus queens coming out, just having a good time and officially being crowned. It means the world to me, and I know that Kayla, she's very happy seeing her go from Miss Junior to Miss Alabama State University is something that she has always wanted.
Following coordination, on Wednesday, SGA hosted a pop-up shop from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
For a pop-up shop for clothing lines, people who have different vendors who sell their merchandise or they have any type of service available. And me, I have a clothing line, 2LT Studios. So I was out here selling my merch and just spreading my brand.
After a week full of great vibes, energy, and events, it's now time for the game. But before the game, University Associate Director of Archives, Dr. Howard Robinson, spoke about what homecoming means to him and also talks about the brief history of ASU's original homecoming plans and how things have changed throughout the years.
It's a time where the sons and daughters of Alabama State University, in this case Alabama State University, remember their alma mater, come back, celebrate, give back, rejoice, remember. Fred Crampton owned what is now Crampton Bowl and helped to facilitate this classic, this game between Alabama State and Tuskegee. And it's over time, it just grew in popularity and significance. And it was an important way for alum to come back. We came back on Thanksgiving. It didn't sit well with undergraduates. There was always sort of a tension between Turkey Day Classic being the homecoming and being on Thanksgiving. A day that students typically would love to go home and enjoy with their families. The graduates, I think, never really warmed up to losing the tradition of playing Turkey Day Classic on Thanksgiving Day against Tuskegee. And so, the stars and the moon have aligned, and once again in 2023, we are going to play Tuskegee on Thanksgiving Day. It's not our homecoming, but it revitalizes that traditional classic rivalry between Alabama State and Tuskegee University.
No matter where or how, Alabama State University homecoming will always be special and one for the books.
We will be joined by ASU historian Dr. Howard Robinson to give us an in-depth look on the evolution of homecoming at ASU. Don't go away.
It's bittersweet. It's something that we've been talking about for a long time. I know this chapter would come, but I'm proud. It's an emotional time, but I'm very proud. Okay. No, I'm not. You sure? I'm sure. No.
My major is in business administration. I'm excited to see what Alabama State can offer me and what I can also offer Alabama State. I'm excited for my new journey, and I'm ready to see what comes with this new experience.
I'm probably going to be a future history maker because I have big aspirations. I'm very ambitious, and I plan to really make my mark on this campus.
Become a history maker today. Visit www.alasu.edu.
We hope you're ready for the first serving, because in studio with us, we have Alabama State historian Dr. Howard Robinson. Thank you for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
So, Dr. Robinson, tell us more about the history of homecoming at Alabama State, and why do you think it's still so impactful to the university today?
Well, the homecoming at Alabama State is I'm reminded like homecoming at other HBCUs, and it's a very festive occasion. But I think at a college campus, particularly where young people sort of make decisions about the rest of their lives, they join organizations that they maintain an affiliation with for the rest of their lives. And then they come to understand as they move out into their respective career trajectories, they understand how pivotal it was to have that experience. And so a lot of times you want to come back to your institution to support it, so that young people, the next generation, can benefit in ways that you benefited. But also you want to make those connections, or reconnect with people that you went to school with, that you pledged with, that you took classes with. And so that's a very important thing. Now at Alabama State, so I have both from a historic understanding and a lived understanding.
Right. So
from a historic standpoint, of course, Alabama State has a special homecoming tradition that in the Turkey Day Classic. And so a tradition where because it was on Thanksgiving Day, it was a time where people ate together, celebrated Thanksgiving together, but also celebrated the traditions of a game. So the community around Alabama State took part in the decorations. That was a big thing in Montgomery, was the decorations not only on campus, but the decorations in people's yards. And so because the community, the black community, was a part of that celebration. Also, the fans and the team from Tuskegee would take the train in from Tuskegee, and they would go down to the train station, and they would disembark, and there would be a parade from the train station back to campus. Oh, wow. So it was a really festive occasion. It involved the entire black community, and it was a time where you got to come back to your alma mater, reconnect, celebrate, and move your institution into the future.
Absolutely, and I'm actually glad you brought up the Turkey Day Classic because in the package, I know you spoke about how some undergraduate students gave a little bit of pushback because that Turkey Day Classic sort of took place on their break. So can you talk about why you think, or do you think that separation of events was important between the Turkey Day Classic and homecoming?
I think it was a critical transformation. I'm not going to pass judgment as to whether it was the right transformation or the right decision, but I would say that for a long time, students felt like they couldn't enjoy their homecoming in the way that they felt they should have because it was a holiday that they had to choose between being here at Alabama State or going home and spending time with family. That's a difficult choice to make.
Absolutely.
And so the decision under the Boyd's administration was to separate the two and to have the Turkey Day Classic, a classic in and of itself, and homecoming on another day. And so I think this past homecoming was the first time I really saw the full celebration of homecoming sort of permeate the campus, excite the alum, and have students participate. So the concerts were really student oriented, where they hadn't been in the past. So the activities. I went to this this off the record party, and I was probably on the older side of the participants, but it was exciting. There was hundreds of students there. They raised money for the institution. It was really a wonderful event, and it's a new tradition, right? I've gone to a couple of them, and it's a new tradition, and so some of the things that we did previously, like the barn fire and other activities, we don't do anymore. But we replaced that with other traditions and other ways to engage both students and alum.
Absolutely. So when you talk about tradition, right, we know that, like you spoke about, things like the bonfire don't even exist anymore. So when we think about that evolution, like the ASU chant, which we also spoke about, do you think that evolution is necessary to the lasting power of an event like homecoming?
Change is essential, right? You got to count on it. And you have to change with the times, and you have to change in ways. Your institution has to take advantage of that change, and your students and your alum have to adapt to that change. And so we have to expect change when we come back to this institution. We have to expect that there's going to be transformation. We should embrace that transformation. And I think a lot of people, my contemporaries who get to come back, they look at how the institution has grown over the years, and they take pride in that. And we want to see the institution grow, get better. We want to see the students embrace and love the institution and celebrate the institution and their time here in ways that might look different than the way we celebrate it, but just are just intense and just as genuine as what we did.
Absolutely. And talking about tradition, we think about those things that are specific to HBCU culture. Can you talk about what we can expect to see at an HBCU homecoming versus a PWI institution?
Well, I think that off the record party was one. I think step shows are another. The type of music. I went to graduate school at a predominantly white institution, and one of the things that is interesting is that I realized at Alabama State everything was about me, right? Everything. I was an SJA senator. I was a yearbook staff. I was in a fraternal organization. Everything was about me, right? And so when I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and the music really wasn't about me. The organizations weren't really about me. The publications and what they talked about really weren't about me. And so I understood and valued that experience I had at Alabama State and the knowledge and the empowerment that came with being like the captain of my soul and having my own destiny in my hands. And so one of the things is that you have a situation where the people that you interact with, previously you come back and they like the who's who, and not only in Alabama but throughout the nation. And what we were practicing to do and we're preparing to do as undergraduates, you see your counterparts like professionally doing those things.
Right.
And so to that, and I think that can be shared at any institution, but it has a special, I think, resonance at a HBCU because the HBCU is almost singularly responsible for the creation of the black middle class. More black doctors, lawyers, judges, they come out of HBCUs at the graduate or undergraduate level. They have an HBCU background. And so that is a nourishing and a rejuvenation that I like to get every year in my shot of homecoming activities.
Absolutely. So as an alum of the university yourself, what are some of those things that you remember from homecoming? Some of those favorite events, maybe the bonfire you spoke of. What are some of those things that you remember?
I remember, well, of course everybody enjoys, the band and not just during the games, but hearing the band, around campus, hearing the band at night. Going out to see the band practice and going out to see the football team practice, going to the game and seeing really the colors and the vibrancy and then all of the vendors and all of the stuff that the vendors are selling again are about me, right?
Right.
And so seeing that. The fraternities, sororities. As a young person growing up in Long Island, New York, I had no idea about black fraternities and sororities. My introduction to them came at Alabama State University, and I was like, wow, this is like a whole new world. I had no understanding as to why nobody left to go get refreshments during the football game at halftime. Like, why is everybody still sitting? You're supposed to go get refreshments. No,
right.
You got to see that. Got to see the band. And so, but those are the types of experiences and similar experiences, as today. The band, the football team, the music, the concerts. All those types of things.
Absolutely. Dr. Robbins, can you let us know where we can reach you to find out even more information?
I'm on the second floor of the Levi Watkins Learning Center in the administrative suite, and I have office hours, regular office hours, and accessible to students at any time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson, for coming with us today. So next up, we have local business owner, lawyer Monica Whiting from Baristas and Barristers, and Ron Simmons from the Montgomery Chamber of Commerce. Right after, field reporter Nadia Johnson takes us to the city to get a look on how the local businesses are impacted by this historic event.
State University, we're focused on student success. Choose from 63 undergraduate and graduate degree programs from a university that has provided educational excellence for more than 150 years. From research to robotics, education to economics, theater to technology, we have the degree to fit your future. Choose the tradition. Choose the promise. Choose Alabama State University.
When discussing the economic impact that homecoming held on the city of Montgomery, we came across Baristas and Barristers, a local law office offering comfort to civilians with tasty food, beverages, and a space to make genuine connections. Monica Whiting, founder of Baristas and Barristers, relocated to her hometown of Montgomery only a couple of years ago and has since seen it emerge as a place for community to happen and for connections to be made.
Conversations are kind of the bedrock of community. I believe that when you have conversations that you wouldn't typically be able to engage in a relaxing environment, that fosters that spirit of community. People come in here from different walks of life and they talk to each other, they meet each other, and everybody's guards are let down significantly. And so what happens is you make relationships based upon those conversations, and that's how community is being built. So when I say connections are made and community happens, it all happens here because of the relaxing, engaging environment. We serve all ages. Typically during the day, we may have parents who bring their young children in. They enjoy the smoothies, even some of the coffees and lattes that our barista makes. But typically in the evenings after 5, we typically enjoy a crowd that's 30 and above, 25 and above, just an adult crowd, because we serve, of course, wine and beer, liquor, and even have a cigar patio. So it's a wide range depending upon the day and time.
For Whiting, Alabama State University ties run deep. Because of her partnership with the university, she's very active in the community, especially during homecoming week.
Having connections with the local university is very important to me. My mother is a graduate of Alabama State University. She's a retired educator, and I've always had friends. Growing up, I was involved in different summer programs over at Alabama State University. So having that connection and being in support of the local university that's a historically black college and university is extremely important to me. So I'm happy to be a proud partner and supporter of the university. Every time I attend anything at Alabama State, it's always a wonderful experience. And because I am coming back home to Montgomery, it just kind of clearly aligns with what I am trying to do. You always want people to feel welcome and invited when they come back home especially, and also take part and experience what new and developing things are happening in the city and at Alabama State University. So I see baristas and barristers as that community partner with Alabama State University, just kind of as an opportunity to kind of clearly align with us being able to showcase all the great things that are happening at Alabama State University.
Hope you're not fooled just yet, because in studio with us, we have Monica Whiting from Baristas and Barristers and Ron Simmons from the Montgomery Chamber of Commerce. Thank you both for being here with us today.
Thank you, Tamia, for inviting us.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Simmons, I want to start with you.
Sure.
Can you please talk to us about the economic impact of an event like Homecoming on the city of Montgomery?
Well, homecoming is very important to the city of Montgomery because we have thousands of visitors that are coming in. Not only that, but our locals who live here, they're coming out to enjoy a game, the festivities, but also they go out to restaurants and they're eating, they're spending money on gas. So from an economic impact standpoint, it's very important. The last homecoming that you had, the stadiums were almost full. You had over 17,000, almost 18,000 in the stands.
Wow.
That's huge. And then not only that, but they go into the city and they spend money. So one of the measurements for us are the number of people that are staying in hotels. So we had about 8,000 people that came from out of town, a little bit, almost 9,000 that came from out of town. And many of those that are staying in hotels, that gives us an economic impact number to start with. But this homecoming, you had about a $2.9 million economic impact.
Oh, wow.
Into the city of Montgomery. And the way that happens is, again, once they're spending money in gasoline, they're spending money in restaurants. So that dollar turns over about 8 times right in the river region.
Oh, absolutely. So let's talk about how that impacts local business owners like yourself, Ms. Whiting. So we know that you're a Montgomery native and you're a relatively new business owner here in Montgomery, right? So your business, Baristas and Barristers, has received great reviews from all citizens of Montgomery. So talk about its ability to bring people together from all walks of life and what your slogan means, bringing people together to make connections and community.
Right, so baristas, of course, are your specially trained coffee makers, and barristers are another word for attorneys, so that's typically used in the UK. So we're talking about bringing together different people who wouldn't normally be together, to have those conversations, to build community, to create just that relaxing, inviting environment where we can have conversations that may be uncomfortable conversations at times, but if you're in a relaxing environment, people typically take their guards down, they unwind, they're relaxed, and that helps us to talk freely and to build community. So that's the whole goal of my coffee bar, Baristas and Barristers. It's located inside of my law office, and what I was hoping to do, or am hoping to continue to do, is to allow for a space that would be relaxing and better serve my clients by having an environment where we can have those uncomfortable conversations in a relaxing environment.
Absolutely. And do you find that as a young Black woman entrepreneur, do you find that it's easier or harder to navigate a space like the Montgomery community? Do you find like it's easier or harder?
I hadn't thought much about it, but that's a very interesting question. One of the things that I'm always adamant about in any business venture is having mentors. And having mentors, preferably that look like me or can be relatable to me, is very important. And unfortunately, there aren't any Black women coffee shop owners that I'm aware of in the area. The closest one that I'm aware of is a wonderful, wonderful mentor of mine. She's in Selma, Alabama, and she's had a successful coffee business for, I think, well over 12 years. And so she's been wonderful about that. So I think that that mentorship, that guidance from somebody who's relatable and who looks like you and can relate to certain things with regards to starting up and marketing and growing and developing your business is extremely important.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Simmons, we talked about some of the figures from this year, right? The numbers of how much homecoming brought in. So how do you think that compares to past years of homecoming, especially since the COVID pandemic impacted the homecoming event?
Well, that's a great question. So post-pandemic, tourism is really on the rise. Hotels are on the rise. The number of visitors that are staying in our hotels and the money that they're spending in hotels is on the rise as well. So if I was to compare this to anything post-pandemic, it's definitely big. For Alabama State University particularly, it's big because homecoming generally is always a big time, but we really saw some energy behind this one with a $2.7 million economic impact is really big for Montgomery, and an economic impact for a game, a football game.
Absolutely.
So it really does mean a lot. It means a lot to our small businesses because they're looking for those businesses to come in. Visitors typically want to do something that's different. They don't typically look for chain stores or chain restaurants. They're looking for an authentic experience from local establishments like Barristers and Baristas. So those things are very important.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Whiting, we know that your business is actually marketed at the games, right, on this big screen. So did you notice an influx of consumers coming to your business during the homecoming period?
Well, I noticed the week leading up to homecoming, there were some new visitors that had probably never been there before. I think it was as a result of people coming home and getting ready for the game and looking for something different, something unique, something even authentic to attend. And that's, of course, extremely exciting for me because I feel like we are offering something that people can come home to. My office and Baristas and Barristers is located in a house, in the old prehistoric house, and so having somebody come home to see something unique and different and feel welcomed and invited was very important for me.
Absolutely. And speaking about coming home, we know that you recently returned to Montgomery, right? So do you remember any memories of ASU, attending ASU homecomings, maybe prior to leaving, and what was that like?
I did. So I, of course, born and raised in Montgomery, and as a little girl, I was always involved in something. During the summer times especially. My mother's a retired educator, so education was, of course, very important in my household. And so I was involved in several different summer programs over at ASU, and I remember going to the games, attending all types of functions over at Alabama State because my mother is also a graduate of Alabama State University. So that definitely remains in my mind, and supporting the university, of course, from that perspective was very important to me. So I was more than happy to be a part of that.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Simmons, talk to us about how the Chamber of Commerce actually prepares for an event like Homecoming.
Well, our job is to make sure that our businesses are prepared primarily. And of course, to make sure we're able to communicate the numbers, the economic impact. But it's very important that we prepare our businesses for these type of opportunities throughout the city. So we prepare them by having meetings well in advance. We pretty much know what those numbers are going to look like from an estimated impact standpoint, and then we get the post impact after that. What that does is it lets our local organizations know you need to be staffed up, what time you need to be staffed up. Example, for this particular homecoming, we found through data that majority of the events that were out in the city were pre-game. Post-game, most of the events were on campus. So a lot of people stayed on campus and tailgated, or maybe the day and the night before the game. There were a lot of events. But leading up to the game, a lot of people were out in the community. So that's typically what we saw. We have data where we can track that. And so what it does, we use that data for next year to prepare our companies and our businesses, the hospitality community, so they will know when they need to be staffed up. What we don't want them to do is waste resources on a time where they're going to be on campus and not prepare for when they're going to be in their establishments. So we're able to provide them with data on when they need to be ready, how many you can anticipate, where they're going to go. We pretty much track all of that when you're here.
Absolutely. Last question to wrap up for both of you. Ms. Whiting, I want to know, did the COVID pandemic cause you to rethink about how you operate business, and did that cause the Chamber of Commerce to rethink about how they operate business?
Well, I wasn't operational at the point of when the COVID impacted small businesses so drastically. However, I'm always very mindful of the impact because I saw it all around me with other restaurants. So we're very cautious and careful to make certain that, you know, if someone is sick or feeling sick, we're masked up. You know, we even have opportunities. We keep thermometers in-house as well too, just in case anyone is feeling a little achy or there's a temperature. So we're just very cognizant of those types of things. We want everyone to be safe, right, and in a relaxing, enjoyable environment, but plan it safe first. So.
Absolutely.
Well, so in my space, I oversee tourism, right? So tourism completely was disrupted. It was the first industry disrupted, and it probably was the one that was impacted the most by the pandemic. So everything we did changed. And so even now, it's changed. Our visitors are different, but the visitors they're great because they're very well educated. They have money, and they're looking to spend money in authentic ways. So, but how we do what we do is different. The relationships are always important. So that's very important because it's in the hospitality community. We're in the hospitality business. So we help drive that here. We do a lot of that through data, through geofencing. You may be on your phone or you're on social media, and those nice boots you've got, they keep popping up because you've touched on it one time.
Right.
We do the same thing in other communities to drive that here. Yeah, we do quite a bit often that changes the way we do what we do because we have to be smarter.
Absolutely.
We have to be a lot smarter in order to prepare our businesses that are going to be benefiting from these guests that are coming in, but we also have to be in front of those tourists to make sure that we're driving them here and that we're giving and delivering the right messaging. Absolutely.
So lastly, can you let us know where we can reach out to both of you for more information?
Sure. You can follow us on social media, Baristas and Barristers. Our website is bnbcoffeebar.com, and we're located at 547 South Lawrence Street.
And you, Mr. Smith?
So we're Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce, but my department is Experience Montgomery. It's a separate brand, but we are a division of the chamber. You can go to experiencemontgomeryaL.org, experiencemontgomeryaL.org. If you want to know what is there to do, what can I do at night, or what can I do in the morning, or what is a great place for coffee, and all of those things, but it's right there for you. And there's quite a bit to do. Too much to do just to drive through.
Absolutely. That's incredible information. Thank you both for being here with
Thank you
us
much.
today.
Thank you.
So much information and so much more discussion to be had. We want to thank all of today's guests, and we hope that this conversation provided some insight on why homecoming is a time for so many to come and feel welcomed back to where it all started for them. As always, we want to thank our guests, and don't go away because ASU students are going to let us know the true meaning behind where history is made.
This is where history is made. Being that I am a third generation Hornet, my grandparents went here, my father went here, and now me, I'm here to carry the mantle. But a history maker, I would say, for the future is just the investment that I get from ASU will bring me somewhere very, very far, to where I'm making so much as a legacy for the future. I'm in the Percy J. Vaughn Jr. College of Business Administration, and under the tutelage of all my professors, whether it be accounting, business, or computer information systems, personally my major, I feel like they perfectly prepare you for the real world, from networking events to certifications that you can obtain. And networking, I know I've said this previously, but it is single-handedly the most important thing they have taught us about an elevator pitch, about being able to market ourselves when we walk into the room. Oh yeah, I think there's tons of benefits about coming to an HBCU. I can name so many, but my number one is just being the connections and the networking you get. One of my favorite staff members who's made like a genuine impact on me is Mr. Marion Brock, and he has a little quote that I don't know, I've kind of lived by at ASU, which is, we're small enough to know you, but we're big enough to grow you. And I say that is absolutely true. We get that personal one-on-one connection with our teachers, our professors, these mentors, to help you get to where you want to in the real world, which is kind of what happened for me this summer. I landed my dream internship. So I truly believe that the nurturing you get at an HBCU is second to none.
This episode of Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet is brought to you by Alabama State University. Become a history maker today.
And as a welcome surprise, we also had the opportunity to speak to ASU University archivist Joseph Caver about his book, From Marion to Montgomery, and to let us know a little bit more about the history of homecoming. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. So can you talk to us a little bit about the history of homecoming at Alabama State, and why do you think it's still important to the university as a whole?
That is a good question. My research, I think I go back to 1909, where John William Beverly organized the Alumni Association. And after each commencement, which would be May, the alumni would get together and have a celebration. So I would go back to the turn of the century, the 20th century, for the beginning of some type of homecoming. Now, whether it was called homecoming, alumni celebration, the true homecoming would be about 1924, with the origin of the Turkey Day Classic.
Absolutely.
With Tuskegee as an opponent at Crampton Bowl, which was opened in 1924. And we recently went to Tallahassee for a football game.
Right.
Before the Turkey Day Classic, we were rotating the game every Thanksgiving between Montgomery and Tallahassee against Florida A&M. So that tradition goes way back. And one year, they played the Montgomery Gray Sox, a minor league baseball team of the Negro Baseball League.
Oh, wow.
For homecoming. And of course, the football field was Patterson Field, not on Madison Avenue, but where the band practiced today behind Tullibody Hall.
Right.
And some great historical games have been played there. But after 1924, the Turkey Day Classic became the norm for homecoming.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Mr. Caber. Can you let us know where we can reach out to you?
Yes. I'm an adjunct here on campus, and I'm working in the archives, organizing the Alabama Democratic Conference papers, as well as the Alabama State Teachers Association. I love history, and I work to preserve it. I have a book. I'll give myself a plug. In 1982, I wrote my master's thesis entitled From Marion to Montgomery, and discovered the Marion Nine. And in 2020, I published my thesis, and it expanded from 1867 to 1925, and brought out more information about these distinguished 9 ex-slaves who founded Alabama State University, then Lincoln Normal School in Marion. So look for my book.
For now, with all hearts, minds, and stomachs full, this has been your monthly serving of the Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet with me, Tamia Jacobs. Until next time, take care of yourself and one another.